So I'll finish off with probably something that's probably close to most people's heart, with licensing for cost. So a big announcement that we're making with Deadline 7 is traditionally with multiple slaves, i.e. each slave runs a job in Deadline. You can run multiple slaves on a machine, whether that be a physical virtual machine. Each of those Deadline slaves would require a Deadline slave license. Now, you just require one license to run as many Deadline slaves as you so wish on one actual running the same machine. So, obviously, there's some pretty major savings there in terms of using Deadline 7 when you want to perhaps run a max or mire or heavy compute job on one slave, and then when you know that perhaps you can just squeeze through a Nuke or an After Effects or a lower end or slightly different kind of profile job, something that perhaps is network I/O heavy as opposed to CPU heavy, you can start mixing and matching and really optimize and push through the amount of processing that is done simultaneously in your render farm. This is going to have an impact potentially on less amount of hardware investment that you need to make on actual physical machines, because you're able to fully utilize your existing render farm. So with this and multiple slaves and the license changes, we've also made some improvements to our license limiting, our limit groups, our limiting system. We've traditionally always had per slave, but we've now introduced per machine and per task. Let me just pop back into Monitor to really show you the true power of how this comes in. So, I haven't actually got that panel, I've hidden it. Let me just bring up limits, because that's where the action is. So you can see here that I've got some license limits that I've set up. I've got 10 licenses of Max and say 300 of Mental Way and a couple of Rhino, but hang on a sec. Usage level. So this is this new setting that we've got in here, which allows us to control the license limits based on a different usage level. Slave is traditionally what we've always had, so multiple jobs going through the queue won't use more than say 10 max licenses or Mental Ray or whatever you see fit, V-Ray for example. With Rhino, or another great example, if we're going to new limit, is of course Nuke, where you only require, like Rhino, you only require one license. Let's say 5, only one license per machine, but you can have multiple instances of say Nuke or Rhino running on a machine, and it only uses that one license. So see here, we've now, instead of just slave, we have task and machine. So we just literally just click on the drop-down machine. Let's say we've got only 5 Nuke licenses, and we can click OK, and we can see then we've got Nuke and Rhino, and we can assign, just need to assign this limit to all the jobs which it's appropriate to, and then we can limit by that. Similarly, something like the Mantra renderer, which is on a per core, per task, if it's a 1-to-1 ratio, can actually then be controlled by a per task level. So depending on the number of cores, it pulls that number of Mantra licenses, and if you've got multiple slaves running, then perhaps you might want to use a combinational thing where you've got actually 50 Mantra on the task and also a machine as well as a per task. So this combination of limits, remember you can apply more than one limit to a job at any one time and apply it to appropriate jobs in your queue, can really help control your licensing systems to effectively ensure that you don't go overboard and then you get failed jobs in the queue. Finally, draft improvements comes free automatically with your Deadline repository installer. We've upgraded it to version 1.2, which just needs an updated draft 1.2 license, which should come automatically with you when you request your Deadline 7 license. And with it comes OpenColor I/O, so OCIO support, CDL, LUT support, Unicode support, so if you're on a foreign operating system, for example, we can fully support that now in different language systems. We've upgraded draft to Python 2.7. Deadline 7 is also upgraded to Python 2.7, which is all in keeping. It's also, by no coincidence, that is in keeping with the latest versions of Nuke, Houdini, Maya and Max, which all now ship with Python 2.7, so everything's now across the board trying to play as nicely as possible and consistent. We've upgraded FFmpeg back behind the scenes, and WebM video encoding codec support as well. Final thing to finish off for me is we've also not stopped on license improvements in Deadline 7. We've also improved on the licensing system in draft as well. So previously you needed to check out a draft license to carry out effectively any operation in draft. You now don't need a draft license unless you're actually carrying out video encoding. So if you're carrying out simple compositing, tile assembly, A over Bs, I'll draft tile assembler. Any of those kind of activities, a slate, will not require a draft license to actually be checked out. We do just need to see, so routable access, we just need to see that the draft feature is running on your license server, and for that, the draft comes automatically if you're on annual support with us. So it's literally a case of just having that draft license feature running on your FlexZone license server together with Deadline, and then we only check out a license when we're actually, say, creating the video encoding part, i.e. creating a QuickTime. And so you can actually get away with less draft licenses, and more importantly, the licenses don't need to be checked out anywhere near as often as they used to.